I wanted to let everyone know that, when personally, when I started at Second Life, it was really challenging for me, and I'm pretty technologically comfortable. So we designed a 10-page primer for Second Life and turned it into a PDF document. And today I posted it onto the class website so that if you want to use that, and I put a Creative Commons license for any kind of use. So if anybody finds that it's handy to address some of these things so that it speeds up the process, especially for students or administrators or colleagues that haven't actually had a chance to use Second Life, you can pull it down from the web and send it to them, and it would really make a big difference in how quickly they can get into the program and get into the flow. Because as I'm sitting here this evening, I realize what a gift it is that I don't have to deal with the logistics of getting to a class with sick kids, and I can still actually have the full time here. So that's available on the class website if you want to use that as a resource. Um, like I said, I was kind of I had a learning curve with Second Life, and I really did feel a little bit lost. It's kind of the drive for the primer that you'll find, but you have to look at the concept. I've done this. I when I did my master's in psychology, one of the things that's really exciting for people is the use of a virtual reality therapies and what you can do for people. And this is right along those lines. We have a really powerful concept that we have an idea that we can meet anytime with anyone that can make arrangements to be here. That's a very powerful learning opportunity, and we can really make use of that. So how do we use that in education? Well, I mean, like we're using it tonight is a fantastic example. But if we're looking at it in a K through 12 setting, kids already exist in a virtual reality world. I mean, that's the paradigm that exists for today. They're on their Xbox, they're on their iPads, they're on their smartphones, they're playing Sony PlayStation, and they've got it. They are using this already. They're on headsets. They're catching up and exceeding what many people have already are just kind of getting used to in education. So I think we need to make even a more of a quantum leap forward in how we keep integrating this. Um, People have mentioned going last. A lot of people have mentioned some things that are important. Uh, Distance learning and collaborative learning. Again, with distance, no object, the virtual field trips and integrating private areas and creating a community, an online community that's safe. Somebody mentioned today something I hadn't even considered about, that maybe being away from the physical and just being able to discuss it is powerful. So for my particular size of thought, how can I engage the students? What am I going to do to get them invested? And I said, okay, let's just not have them visit a place, but let's get them into designing it. And then I took it one step further. I said, not just a place, how about a time? So look, we could really integrate that with science. The teacher could design a Second Life interest inventory, put up little places where the students would say, here's my interest and here's what I'm uh, here's what excites me, and we could do that on the island, and then we could have them get involved in building and um, creating not just a place but a time. If you'll click to the next slide, Eileen. Uh, these are places that we could create with the students. Pompeii, Herculaneum, Mount St. Helens, and we could really get them involved in researching the time, the place, the history, what happened. We could look at earthquake sites or tsunami sites or historical sites or any other places of interest. So when you're doing that, you're giving the students ownership and you're getting them involved almost in creating the lesson. Almost we're 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 building this superstructure around a lesson, and then we're really letting them start to use their creativity. And of course, we have to be cognizant of that they're, you know, producing a result and they're in here and they're not goofing off and all the things that are normal you know, childhood behaviors. But with that structure, we can really allow them to safely engage on the web under our supervision without a threat from outsiders, which is very powerful. I did a webinar this week just because I was interested in what the Los Angeles um, technology director, Los Angeles Public Schools technology director, was seeing as the flow of his schools. He had a great point. Schools were designed in the 50s for a post-World War II industrial area, and he sees this kind of virtual reality as the next step. And they are even talking about designing the architecture of schools differently, as in one big room with different learning pods in different areas. And that's where he's trying to push the LA schools to. And I said, what a great idea. We're going to have a lot more interaction where resources will be available. So, you know, it's naturally going to engage students who are already technology focused. That's already their paradigm of existence. What's great about a virtual reality like Second Life is you use their kinesthetic. Geez, somebody had a great idea tonight about hooking up a Connect box. I never even thought of that. It's fantastic. You integrate auditory and visual and kinesthetic learning, and this is using virtual reality is definitely the step that's going to give these students ownership of their lessons and their involvement. All these interactions online, the technology, the teaching, the guidance from the teacher, is going to build upon the child's natural learning tendencies, which is going to bring them into a more positive learning environment. You can absolutely say to kids, let's have fun in class today. And this virtual reality in Second Life, it supports the classroom within the structure of the core curriculum mandates. So we have to keep them engaged. I mean, we really do. And we can see what the students come up with on their own. What can they do? How can they supplant the limits I'm putting on them by having them come to something greater than I would have even conceived of? In a professional development way, separate from the students in administration, I mean, just as we're using it tonight, it furthers the education opportunities that we're exposed to in and out. It addresses one of the major misgivings about distance learning. This is the problem that people always say, that there's no teacher-student interaction and no student-to-student interaction. Well, I mean, tonight's a perfect example. We have absolutely had both those kinds of interactions, I think even more efficiently than if I had to deal with the logistics that I have to in my schedule to get to the physical classroom. That seems really, in the year 2012, basically outdated. So it addresses that issue and addresses the logistical issue, like I said, of not having to waste time driving, parking, and things like that. So that's the basic concept, and we've already seen so many fantastic ways to integrate that. So remember that we posted that Second Life primer. It's 10 pages. It's easy. It gets people started, and I think it would really help. And we'll go on to the next slide. Thank you.
You folks gave me separate slides, so I'm not sure who's on next. Is this the next one, or is it Dan?
This is fine. This is fine. I can go. Okay, so we were talking about, different spaces where we could create in Second Life and how they would help each of our disciplines, mine being earth science. And we came up with the idea and things that are sometimes difficult to conceptualize for students, such as concepts of plate tectonics and volcanoes or how things work inside the earth. We thought this would be a great way to create that type of world and let them explore that type of world looking at it visually. So you can go to the next slide. So just going through some of the possible concepts, I mean, just building this world of the inside of the earth and how it's, there are different layers and how it's moving and convection cells. I came up with a couple of concepts that we could use this world to study, such as plate tectonics, which is the earthquakes, the Earth's different layers. We have volcanoes and geysers. And I don't know how we could create this world, but I think it would be an amazing way for students to learn about the Earth in more of a visual way when sometimes it's difficult for them to conceptualize these concepts. So that was just one of the spaces that came up with. I'm all set.
And that's great. I'm going to put Dan's slides on. There are an awful lot of places that are already made on regular Second Life, and we're hoping to get some funding to do even more. So we're really at square one with Second Life and virtual worlds, but there'll be a lot coming. So these ideas are really important.